Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 154 of Verbal Graffiti with your host, Brian Glass, aka the B-Man, the People's Degenerate. Nobody in my life that I know of died this week, so we're happy about that. Although my uncle, I just discovered, is blind in one eye. Do not know if it's the left or the right, but he's 85, so that's, although it's concerning, I wouldn't call it tragic. Because if you still have your vision past age 80, hey, you had a good go of it, and it's a constant reminder that you gotta do the business while you're healthy and able-bodied to do so. Last night, I did stand-up comedy. I was at an open mic. The B-Man, you know that's what I do when the sun goes down and the moon rises up. But after that, I wanted. There was some filming. I didn't have to do it, and I actually didn't even want to do it. I just wanted to go home, eat some peanut butter M&Ms, maybe do a little bit of the goon, find a new Scarlet to pleasure myself to. But I said no. My uncle, who is 85, a dignified man, is blind in one eye. And there will be a time in the near future where he might not be able to film it. He doesn't film anything, but if he did, he would not be able to do so. So the B-Man, while I'm still young and spry and able-bodied, I went out and I did the filming on the street. I wasn't filming other people. I was filming myself. It is amazing. Maybe amazing is a wrong adjective to use, but it's warming. It warms the heart, the B-Man's heart, black heart, to know. Oh, speaking of heart, all right, we're going all over the place tonight. Last night I was doing stand-up, and there's this new babe who's hanging out with the comics. I think she's might be dating a comic. I don't really want to speak to the relationship, what is or not. I think they are, because they touch each other's hands, and I've never seen this bitch. I haven't seen this bitch around, and when new bitches start coming around, it's usually because of they're sucking dicks of one of the comics. Anyways, a polite lady. She remembered my name from a previous week, so immediately I like her. She has her jigglers are fantastic, and she had them out. But that's not what I want to bring attention to. What I want to bring attention to is this babe. And I always say babe with affection, except for when I do not mean it affectionately. But she was smoking a doobie, and that's what I call marijuana, because I don't really know the difference between a joint, a roll. There are different types, and I just call it a doobie because everyone laughs when I say that, so I stick with it. She was smoking a doobie. And then she had a vape pen, like a green vape. I'm assuming it was nicotine. Maybe it was weed as well. But then she was also later that night, she was smoking a regular old school cigarette. And I was telling her, I was like, wow, you really hate breathing, don't you? Because she had the trifecta. It was like any substance that you could blow smoke out of, she was putting up to her lips and sucking it down. And she thought I was being judgmental of her, because she was like, oh, do you not want me to smoke in front of you? I was like, no, it's cool. The B-Man, I actually enjoy the smell of secondhand smoke, whether it's nicotine or the doobie, the flavored vape pens, depending on the flavor, I could take it or not. But nicotine, I actually do enjoy the secondhand smell of it. Anyways, later in the conversation, she was mentioning how every night, like, she'll cough, and when she blows her nose, there's always a black substance, like in the snots. And then I'm like, oh yeah, well, of course you're sucking down nicotine all day, every day. Of course, you're gonna have pipes for nostrils. The chimneys for nostrils with all the black soot coming out of you. But again, she's young, she's beautiful, she's living her life. I'm not judging her. I almost looked at her with awe. Like, you could smoke this many, these many devices, these many darts, and still be able to breathe and not have wrinkles on your face. Good for her. A tip of my penis to her. I just bring that all up because I said it warms my heart, and then I was thinking, well, my heart is black, and then she had mentioned blowing her nose and having black stuff come out of her nose and her snot. So that's where the connection made. And let's backtrack. What warms my black heart, the B-Man's black heart, that is that when I'm filming on the street in the city myself, people walking by are very cognizant. And when they see a camera on a tripod, I'll notice a lot of people, pedestrians, they'll cross the street or they'll walk around my camera to not get in view of the shot, because I don't think it's that they don't want to be on camera. I think it's more so they don't want to ruin the shot that they think I'm taking, or at least that's the way I like to view it, because that would make them more polite, more mannered. But I like people walking in and out of the scene because it's more natural, and maybe there's an odd looking fellow or babe that I could use in the video that I'm making. And the video I was making last night, I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's going to be about a date gone wrong, but I don't really know what all the scenes are going to be. So if there was a random person walking by, like maybe I could have used that footage in the movie. So, but again, just a tip of my penis to all of you that acknowledge the filmmakers out there and do your best to avoid ruining the shot. Although for the B-Man's case, ruining my shot might actually make the film what it is, because I don't really know what this new film I'm making, just like a minute, 2 minutes short, it's going to morph into. Anyways, moving up, downward and backward. Last episode, 153, we finished reading A Salesman's Wife by the great author John Lawrence. If you're new to Verbal Graffiti, for the last, I think this was about 180 pages. So for the last 90 episodes or so, I finished each episode of Verbal Graffiti by reading 2 pages of this great literary book, The Salesman's Wife by John Lawrence, a smut literature book that was published in 1977. And will I read a new book now that we're done with this one? Probably not. I thought this gimmick might bring more viewers, more eyeballs to this project that is Verbal Graffiti. It did not. My big takeaway from reading, actually, I have 2 big takeaways from reading this book aloud for all of you, our audience here, is that I cannot read out loud. I stumble over my words. There are a lot of adjectives used in this book. So, I still read at a 6th grade reading level. That's what reading smut literature, that's what I learned about myself. Reading smut literature out loud is that I still read at a 7th or 8th grade reading level, which is hysterical when you really think about it. My second big takeaway is, again, if you haven't been following along the last 90 episodes, there's a lot of sexual encounters in this book that involve having to drug your patient to have intercourse together. I don't want to go as far to say it's the date rape drug, but it's also, there were very early on in this book, there was a scene where the psychiatrist, the newlywed came, and she's timid, doesn't know how to have sex, doesn't want to have sex with her husband. So the psychiatrist gives her a glass of wine with a little bit of white substance, a drug to loosen her up. And again, this was written in 1977. And when I first read that scene aloud to you, immediately I said, we are pro consent here. We are not, we do not promote the use of the date of any drugging any babes. If you know anyone who has, call the authorities, the police. But it immediately made me think of Bill Cosby, right? Bill Cosby, America's father until he wasn't, until it it came to light that he kind of, throughout the Cosby Show, throughout his years of fame, he would, he'd find these babes that were barely legal. He'd bring them to Hollywood or to set to try to, I'll show you the way to Hollywood. And then he would, drug them. He'd drug their liquid. They'd pass out. He'd fuck them. He'd have his way with those babes when they were passed out. And then, this was, he got away with this for decades, literally decades, until it came out during the whole Me Too thing, which is great. He should have paid the price decades earlier. Like the first time he did it, he should have been arrested and persecuted for it, or prosecuted for it. But when I read this book, immediately I kind of made the connection between the two. Like this author talking about a character drugging his patient, and Bill Cosby doing it in real life. And I think, well, was this more prevalent in this 1970s here in the United States? And it makes me think it probably was, unfortunately. That was almost common. That's how you got your dick wet in the 1970s. You get a babe a glass of wine, you pour a little drug in it without her knowledge. She'd drink it, get all tipsy, pass out, and you fuck, and then that wasn't even considered sexual assault. That was just how you went about having sexual intercourse in the 1970s. Thankfully, we have come a long way since then, and that is clearly against the law, as it should be. But it does, when reading this book, The Salesman's Wife, and the salesman's wife got taken advantage of. It's just a dark part of American history, along with not having skee-ball machines in bars across the country. If you watched the last episode, you know. But it just immediately, that's just what I thought. It's like, wow, maybe Bill Cosby probably was not the only celebrity drugging drinks to take advantage of young babes in Hollywood during the 1970s and maybe the 80s and 90s as well, maybe even into the 2000s. So now I have to come to grips with that, as do all of you 10 or 12 viewers of Verbal Graffiti. It is interesting when you read these smut novels, from the 80s, the 1970s, and I do read some of these novels, that you read them, and most of them involve, young Scarlets being taken advantage of with illegal substances. I wouldn't say it's going all the way to sexual assault, but it's going very, very close. And I would consider what the psychiatrist did in this sexual assault. But when you read all these novels from the 1970s, and that kind of tends to be a common theme throughout all this smut literature from the 1970s, it makes me think, like logically, well, this had to have been going on in the real world, not just in the smut literature world, where all of our heads are in the gutter. And that's disheartening. Maybe that's why my heart's a little black, because I know there were plenty of young Scarlets in the 1970s and beyond that have been taken advantage of. And hopefully there's a lot less of that going on today. And hopefully one day we can completely eradicate sexual assault, and hopefully everything will one day can be consensual. But that is a concerning theme throughout the smut literature of the 1970s and earlier, is women being taken advantage of. But thankfully, the salesman's wife, she has a great marriage now, and the psychiatrist, even though he did use some questionable tactics with his patient and her young husband, the book ends with them making love to each other. So, he did his job, and the salesman's wife is now open has her legs open, willing to live life, a sexual life with her husband, and now they're probably old and gray right now, but yeah, makes you think. Makes you think about what was going on. What was going on behind closed doors in dark lounges pre-1980. At least it makes me think. But again, the B-Man, I might be a more thoughtful person than you are. Moving along. Hey, no, I don't think we'll continue reading new books unless one tickles my penis. Maybe I will start reading books again if we get more viewers. Until then, that gimmick is over, and I'll have to find a new gimmick to end each episode with. All right, I've rambled enough. Let's continue with this episode. This comes from the subreddit women, or as I like to call them, babes. Reddit calls them women, however. I feel like the discourse over Bonnie Blue's vagina is starting to turn into outie shame. A few months ago, I started seeing videos of people talking about how gross Bonnie Blue's vagina is. I've been seeing more and more recently. The comment section is full of people talking shit about her vagina. While reading the comments, I can't help but feel like it's starting to turn into just blatant ignorance towards outies. The remarks that are being made are just crazy. I understand who she is. Trust me, I hate her with all my heart. But this is honestly turning into something it shouldn't be. There are so many girls out there that have outies that may feel affected by the comments. I don't understand why we have to judge someone for their anatomy instead of their character. Before we go any further, I'd just like to point out that Bonnie Blue is a huge fan and supporter of verbal graffiti. So I will never speak poorly or downly about the great, the famous Bonnie Blue. I do find it peculiar that you hate Bonnie Blue's character with all of your heart, but you distinctly draw a line with hatred, that is, with her vagina, which is outward. That's peculiar. You might be the only one where that is the line drawn, but everyone's got their red line, and that's yours. And if it's sticking out a little bit, the vagina, that is, your red line's a little bit further than everybody else's. Now, I don't know much about Bonnie Blue other than her fanhood of our project here, Verbal Graffiti. I do know who she is. When I say I don't know much about Bonnie Blue, what I mean by that is I've never seen her naked. Bonnie Blue doesn't do it for me. I'm not saying she's not attractive. I'm just saying, or her vagina, that is. Bonnie Blue is just, she's not the B-man's type. She's white. She's skinny. She has, her facial features are very strong and bony. And that's just, I like round, brunette, darker skin, curvier. So she is the complete opposite of what I look up when I want a goon. So she's not my type. And the bony, there's just something about babes who have strong facial features that are very bony that I distinguish as manly. Now now I have not heard much about Bonnie Blue's vagina being an outie and people criticizing her for that anonymously on the internet. Now I have heard there is do you want to call it conspiracy theory, or there is some speculation on the internet that's come on my feed that says that Bonnie Blue is a man, or originally was a man, and in her early teen years transitioned into a babe, and that's what I've been reading on the internet. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of what gender Bonnie Blue is or is not, because again, a Bonnie Blue is not somebody that I fancy physically or spiritually. So I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. To be man, I only have so much time when it comes to the floozies on the internet, and Bonnie Blue, to me, is not worth my time. Although right now it is, because we're talking about her. But when I stop stumbling over your words, B-man, when I was made aware of this allegation, let's call it that Bonnie Blue was a boy and transitioned during her early teen years into a woman, I found that how did I found that what's the correct term? It validated my thoughts. Like I just said, women the babes who have very strong, bony faces that are distinguished, like that's a manly feature. So when there are people on the internet saying, no, Bonnie Blue was actually originally a man or a boy, it goes, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And not saying it's true or not, but there's something about a bony face. Like I go, that's manly, and I like feminine. You know, in terms of what I'm sexually attracted to. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And also, I also have a weird thing, and let me know if I'm the only one who thinks this way. When I see a babe for the first time, in person or in a photo, and she's with her dad, if I see a strong resemblance between the babe and her dad, I'll right away not be attracted to her because she looks like her dad, and her dad is a man, and I don't like to have intercourse with men. I don't swing that way. So when I see a resemblance between a father and her daughter, and that's my first time seeing her is with the dad. It's like, no, you look too much like a guy. You could be whoever, Selma Hayek, and you'd be like, dude, your dad ruined it for me. It's not your fault. It's your dad's fault that the B-man doesn't want to goon with you. As far as outie vaginas go, it certainly would not be me criticizing Bonnie Blue's vagina for being an outie. I'm not pro or anti outie vagina. I'm pro vagina 100% across the board, as long as it ain't stank. If your vagina ain't stank, then I am pro your vagina. The B-man, I will rally behind you and cheer your vagina on. I've encountered a number of outie vaginas throughout my exploits throughout the years, and I've always viewed the outie vagina as distinguished because it does resemble a pocket square stuffed into a blazer breast pocket, where you stuff it in there and it's all sticking out, all folded up. Very distinguished. So that's why I think that's what I've always thought of that's my first thought when I think of an outie vagina is, that's very distinguished. It's a pocket square. The B-man, I love nibbling on a vagina lip. So if you have an outie vagina, I'm all about it. Have no shame with your outie vagina when you're with the B-man, because I do like nibbling at it, and it makes it easier to access, obviously, because it's an outie. I'm a bit flustered with this one because I've never, and I do talk a lot about female anatomy with my guy friends, and I've never had any of my guy friends have any negative comments about an outie vagina. I was always under the impression, and again, maybe I'm wrong because I don't have a vagina, that the babes, when it comes to their vagina, they've always been more self-conscious of the color of their vagina, the skin around the vagina, because there are vaginas that are beat up. It looks like rustic furniture, a beat up catcher's mitt from the 1950s. It's brown, it's beat up, it's rusty. It looks like, it just looks like a warehouse that no one's occupied for the last 50 years. And I do know babes who are self-conscious of that. And I was always under the impression when you come across a brown, if you're with a white babe and she's a brownish vagina that just looks like it's beat up, it just looks like it needs an oil change. It looks like, it looks like it's a clunker of a vagina. Like, I was always under the impression, oh, that's because she fucks a lot and or she just diddles herself so much that it discolors the skin of the vagina and around the vagina. And I say that because my first 3 years of masturbating, I was like fucking my mattress every night. Like, I learned very late in the masturbating game that you can use your hand. So I was fucking my mattress. I was just humping my mattress every night and just rubbing it against it being Mr. Perfect against my mattress. So much so that the underside of my penis is a little discolored. It's a little brown. So that's why I made the correlation between, well, if that happened to my penis, then obviously with the vagina, you must be fiddling yourself too roughly and too often. And that's what turns your vagina, into a Dodge Ram 1984 van looking like. So I do know women that are self-conscious of that. Although I was told one time, I did hook up with this babe. And when I say hook up, I mean, like, I ate her out. There was no sexual done because I'm a giver. And like, her vagina was all brown. I'm like, oh, you fuck a lot, huh? Because it's just like, oh, no, that's just natural. Like, that has nothing to do with sex or... You'll watch a smut on the internet and you'll see like a barely legal babe on the internet showing her slit, and it's so tender, and it's so like it goes from white to pink, and there's no discoloration from the pubic area to the vagina. That is perfection. That is perfection. That is the perfect vagina. So when you see one that's all beat up and brown and it looks like you got it at the used car lot, like, I could understand a babe being self-conscious of not having that perfect white to pink vagina. But now you're telling me that there are Johns and babes alike criticizing Bonnie Blue for having an outie vagina. And I find that interesting. I was unaware, at least in my circle group, that's never a criticism that's been made about the female anatomy. Now, I will say this as I pick my nose. I am vehemently against the outie belly button. I cannot fuck with an outie belly button. I can't do it. The outie belly button makes me gag. It's like similar to mayonnaise. I want nothing to do with it. I cannot dance with an outie belly button. If you have an outie, why have you not taken a pair of pliers and snipped it off? That would be the first thing I would do if I was cursed with an outie belly button. And I do. This is no study. From what I've seen, it does seem like there are more black people that have outie belly buttons than whites, Asians, and Hispanics. Why is that? Why is that? I do not know why. Are any of you smarter? Can some of you tell me why that's the case? That's just something I've picked up on over the years. So I cannot dance. I will not dance with an outie belly button, but an outie vagina, yeah, the B-man, I'll dance with that. Let's go look at some photos. Whoa, my unhumble apologies. I may have buried the lead with that first segment with Bonnie Blue, that is. Again, big supporter here at Verbal Graffiti, and we thank her for that support. But I have to believe most of the online hatred directed towards Bonnie Blue, I don't think it's because of her personality or what may or may not be going on with their vagina and where it's stuffed. I gotta believe that most of the online hate that Bonnie is receiving is because of how many guys she has allowed to get dicked down by in a 24-hour period. Now, I could be wrong. I always mix up Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips. You got to admit, those two do kind of look like they were conjoined twins at one point in their life. Like, it is shocking how, like, what they do for a living, which is fuck a lot of guys and get paid to do so by all us Johns via the internet. They do look eerily similar to each other. And I do believe at one point they may have been good friends, and then there was a dispute over like who was fucking who, or like how many men at one time. So maybe it was Lily who fucked 1,000 guys and Bonnie was only 500. Well, whatever the number was, like it's more than the B-Man's ever been with his entire life by like 10, 100-fold. So like, it was a lot. It was a lot, especially in a short, like a one-day period. So whether it was 500, 1,000, I think that is why there was so much ire directed towards Bonnie Blue. Her personality and maybe her vagina. Maybe not the look of it, but how many men she's allowed in it in a 24-hour period. How did I not mention that in the first segment, B-Man? You got to be better than that. You got to be better than that. And I will. I will try. Now that I think about that, not so much Bonnie Blue, but being a part of a gangbang, a train. I've never been part of a train, especially one that's 1,000 johns long, in a hotel room in London in a 24-hour period. I'd get stage fright. I would not be able to get Mr. Perfect hard, being in line in a train to fuck Bonnie Blue or whomever. Like, I get stage fright. I've mentioned this before. I get stage fright at a public urinal if there are people standing behind me to use the urinal. So much so that there have been times where I haven't been able to piss and I gotta make the walk of shame to the back of the line in the public restroom. So you put me on a train to get inside of Bonnie Blue, I'm pretty confident that I would get stage fright and not be able to perform. Mr. Perfect would not be able to get erect. And so I wouldn't even, I would entertain making sweet, sweet love with Bonnie Blue, even though I'm not that attracted to her. Not saying she's not attractive, just she's not my type. But one-on-one, I would do so. But as part of a train, I would want to. I'll fully admit that, but I just know myself well enough to know that I would not be able to perform. And that would be a walk of shame. A real walk of shame. Like you're in a train, the fuck Bonnie Blue. Like you and a 1,000 other Johns, and you can't perform, and they gotta go find a replacement for you, so it doesn't finish at 990. Imagine you're training Bonnie Blue. She wants to get to 1,000, but she only gets to 999 because you are the one that was not able to get erect and perform your duty, and that's why she fell short. Like I would not be able to live with that shame on my shoulders the rest of my life. So I would not even try. I would do everything within my power not to be. I'd be a Dodge drafter. That's what I would do. If there was a Bonnie Blue draft to fuck her vagina to get some type of world record, I would dodge the draft if there was such a thing. So you want to call me a pussy because I can't get up for Bonnie Blue's pussy in part of a train? Well, that's what the B-Man is. I'm a lover. I'm a performer. I'd like to think I perform sexually too, but when there's a line behind me, I'm Gumby. Gumby melting into the ground. Ugh. All right, enough with Bonnie Blue. Enough with her. Back to verbal graffiti and the normies out there. All right. This comes from the subreddit Body Language. Okay. Third party perspective. It is truly mind-blowing how much you can feel the tension when it isn't even you involved in it. I have two female coworkers who act like nobody else is standing right there. The one girl is engaged to a man, but gravitates across the whole room to stand next to the other girl, and they will legit stand arm to arm in an entire empty room. The eye contact and playful, flirty banter is so awkward for me. Not sure how I see this playing out without major fallout, but for those of you who ask, yes, we can feel the tension between two people. It consumes the air, LOL, which stands for laugh out loud. I'm gonna go a movie scene with you to illuminate this one. A little, what's the name of that movie? I can't remember. From the 90s, Matt Damon. Whatever. I do know it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. When two vaginas have the tingles for each other, it similar to an adult with Down syndrome. It's impossible not to notice. What is that movie? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Robin Williams. It's going to bother me. It's going to bother me until I can remember the name of it. Anyways, but back to you. Even though I had that movie in my mind and I cannot think of the name of it. It's not your fault. It isn't your fault. And you are absolutely correct. When two people, it could be two women, two dykes, it could be two guys, gays, it could be two, like a hetero couple or hetero co-workers. Like you are spot on. You are spot on, 100% correct. You can feel it's similar to oxygen, air, like you said. Like you can't see it, but you know it's there, and you can feel it. And I guarantee you're not the only one in the office. I mean, hell. I mean that's all anyone's been talking about the last 3 weeks on the internet. That the couple at Coldplay. Right, the astronaut CEO and his floozy HR partner, they got caught on the kiss cam and then they lost their jobs because of it. I guarantee you, because I've been in this situation, not the CEO level, but I've been in office settings where there are, like you're in, where there's two coworkers that are all lovey-dovey, they don't say it, but you can feel it because you can feel the energy. And I guarantee you, everybody who worked in the office with that Coldplay couple knew that those two were playing footsies with each other. And they were all thrilled that Coldplay outed them and that they both got fired and left their positions. Because that must have been nauseating to be in that office when those two were tiptoeing around playing footsies and pretending just to be normal. And not, we're just professional colleagues. But everybody in that office knew those two probably were hooking up behind their spouse's back. And when it came to light, when the internet caught them, everybody in the office is probably, yeah, we know. We've known this for a year. Like, welcome to the party. This has been our hell for the last year. These two CEO and HR lady, they walking around playing all these games and pretending that they're not fucking each other, in the closet and in the restroom and at hotels during the lunch hour. And everyone in that office is thrilled that they got outed and got the boot and got kicked out of that office because now they can go back to just working normal and having everybody hate each other in the office. Because there's nothing worse than when you're in an office and two colleagues start getting, feelings, the tingles for each other in their genitals, and then start playing that footsie game. I had that one time. I was in New York City. I worked in an office, a small office, open seating. And like I said with the CEO, an astronaut guy. It was nauseating. And there was, so I had this John across from me, again, open scene, so I could see him, and he would type on Teams. That's what we use for communication, to a babe who was kind of, I don't know if her vagina was an inward or an outward one, but she wasn't fat, but she wasn't skinny either. Kind of an artsy New York City gal, and she was like 2 rows behind me. So when my John coworker, this goth type guy, like he'd message her every day, like throughout the day, and then as soon as he was finished with the message via Teams, like he would stop and he'd work and he'd keep like looking up to see to wait for her acknowledgement of getting the Teams message behind me, and if she would giggle or make a smiley face at him or at the laptop screen, like my John coworker, he would have a very that was just a very he would smile and he'd be proud of himself for making this female coworker that he clearly had a crush on, smile or giggle with whatever witty comment he was making. And yeah, they never fucked. And maybe they did, but that babe ended up marrying another guy. And this guy, I won't say he's an incel, but he did give me the vibe of a guy who like writes every night in his journal. He journals every night about his day and his feelings. That's not incel, but it's pretty close to being. It's incel adjacent when you're journaling every night about your feelings. So that, and I was in that, and I know I wasn't the only one who was recognizing this, because, like you said, feelings, like the emotions you have. Like the people around you can feel what your feelings are. Now, I don't know why that is. I suspect it goes back to just basic animal instincts, survival. Survival of the fittest. They go back to the caveman days. If there was a caveman who was really angry, like you have to be able to sense that anger, so that you don't go into that anger and put yourself in danger. Because if a caveman's angry, then you go near his family, he's likely to club you to death. So you have to be aware of those emotions, even though they aren't visibly seen, but you can feel them. That way you can protect yourself. And also, the other end of the spectrum, like when a caveman cave babe, when they were into each other, the eyes are dilated. There's some physical signs, like let's procreate so that the species can move on, one can live for one more generation. And I have read, now, is that true or not? I don't know. To be man, I'm not an anthropologist. I'm just speculating out loud. That's what we do here at Verbal Graffiti. I have read, though, that communication is 80% nonverbal. Like, it's very evident. Like, as a heterosexual male, when there's a babe that's interested in me, it's very evident by her non-verbal cues, like the twisting of the hair, so find a way to touch your arm, so cross and uncross her legs. Again, their pupils are dilated, so laugh at your unfunny jokes. And I'm sure you babes, you can probably tell there are signals that us Johns give off that are tells that, hey, we're interested in you. So I think it has been proven that language is, maybe it's not 80%, but a lot of it is nonverbal. And especially when there's love in the air, those two ends, the love and the hatred, when someone's super angry and when someone's super in love, it's suffocating. It is suffocating. And yes, you poster, who wrote this post, you're spot on. You were spot on. And there's something else about To be honest, I'm just happy you didn't go to your HR department because usually when there's an inter-office love affair, usually it is a female, a babe, coworker who immediately goes to HR and rats them out. It's usually not the men. That's just in my 10 plus years in corporate America. That is my experience or what I've noticed. So I'm happy you went to Reddit instead of HR. I'm at a weird point right now because this is the end of the episode and I'm not going to read A Salesman's Wife because we were done with the novel. I feel I'm at a loss of words. I'm at a loss of feelings. Oh, well, that is the end of the episode. It's going to be fun. The next time someone asks me, hey, what's the last book you read? I go, oh, I've read The Salesman's Wife by John Lawrence. And then she'll ask, oh, what's that about? I go, oh, it's smut literature from the 1970s about a salesman and his wife and their troubling marriage. That will be fun. But until next time, or next episode, go suck a fat one.